Welcome back, everyone, to another podcast episode here of Off the Bench. I am your host, Esteban Velez, and today is a special episode as we will kind of recap the men's basketball season here at Culver Stockton. And joining us today for that is Ryan Moore, senior out of Melbourne, Australia. Just finished his time here at Culver Stockton's men's basketball team. Had a really good season with the guys. The guys overall did really well, so we're excited to have him here. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. Overall, Ryan, what are your thoughts about how the season went for you guys?
Well, that's my first of all. Thanks for having me. Really happy to be here and chat about basketball. This year, I think we had high expectations with a new coach coming in. I think my first 3 years here were a little bit underwhelming, you could say. But no, having a new coach coming in, it was good to have like a fresh start. And I think going forward, we had such a good group. I really thought that going into the year, this was going to be one of the better years for us as a program. And looking back on the season, I think it didn't end the way we wanted it to, but I think it was a positive step in the right direction for us.
You talked a little bit about having a new coach and how that kind of helped you guys out, a fresh start. Before Coach Hobbs came in after last coach, in between that transition, were you excited? Were you a little bit nervous? Were there any thoughts about transferring just because a new coach for senior year? How was that thought process?
Yeah, absolutely no thoughts of transferring. I think after putting 3 years in, I wanted to see it out at Culver. I wouldn't have it any other way. I think there was some mixed feelings. A little bit of nervousness, but a little bit of positive thoughts. And I was really excited to have Coach Hobbs come in. It was good to have a coach that I already knew. He was my coach, my assistant coach, my freshman year. So there was already that connection there. And I thought that was a good step forward because with a new coach coming in, you kind of skip that introductory period. You can kind of get straight to where you need to go. So, I think coming into the year, I was really excited. It seemed like a fresh start going into a senior year, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, you wouldn't really expect fresh start senior year. You kind of think it'd be the same over and over what you've seen the last 3 years. So I guess it was a really cool experience getting that chance. Overall, you guys had a 14-15 record, not just in conference, but in general, the best record you guys have had since the 2014-2015 season. Besides there being a new coach, what was the biggest difference?
I think the biggest difference for us was belief. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but I was speaking to someone else earlier in the week. I think this year in particular, for me personally, and I think I speak on behalf of some of the senior and older guys in the group, this was the first year that going into games, particularly in the back end of the year, that we felt like we were the better team. The last 3 years before this one, by the time we got into the spring semester, it kind of felt like our season was kind of done, and that was a harsh reality for us at that time. But this year it's like a switch had flipped. Like it really felt like we were taking steps in the right direction, and that was the biggest thing, probably the belief. We believed in ourselves. It's kind of corny, but it's the truth.
Right. And you guys were really good at home as well. You had an 10-4 record at home. It was kind of opposite on the road with the 4-11 record. Yeah. Obviously, being here at Culver Stockton, you get the fans, you got the student section, going on. But besides that, why do you think the struggles on the road were so dominant this season?
I think the problem with the road games is it's hard to get back when you drop a lead, and I think that was one of the problems we had this year, was that it took us a while to get going. We weren't hot out of the gate, so it took us to about the 10-minute mark in the first half to really start to get going, and on the road by then it's almost too late. We had some good road wins. I think about winning at Peru. That was a really big game for us. That was the last game of the fall semester, and I think that was a game where we really played for a full 40. Looking back, I think if we had brought that full 40 mentality to a lot of our road games, I think that 4-11 mark would have been a little bit different.
I remember watching the live stream of the Peru game at the end of the December, the fall season. Were there any thoughts in your head about, you have a Christmas break now, we're on a good run right now, but, 2 weeks off, we might slow down when we come back?
It definitely crossed my mind because we had a good patch like that the year before. We had a really good sort of 3-game stretch to end the fall semester, I should say. So, looking at trends, it definitely was creeping into my head a little bit. But, we do a good job. It's a short Christmas break, and we do a good job when we get back and on staying on the right track. So, definitely, especially after that win at Peru, I think the mentality of the group was, all right, we're actually pretty good here and we can really do something. So I think having that and holding on to that over the Christmas break, by the time we got back for the spring semester, I think we were ready to lock in and really give it a real crack.
The Peru game was a really impressive win. Before that, you guys had a really good win against CMU here at home. I believe they finished, fourth in the conference?
Yes.
Fourth in the conference, and they were up there receiving votes at the beginning of the year. Overall, just walk us a little bit about through the game. What was your mentality going into the game, during the game, and once it was all said and done, that you guys got the clear victory?
Yeah, so that was a real trick game for them. I think we had the real advantage, despite being the lower seed in the standings. It was the Thanksgiving game, I believe. So there's no crowd, and I think everybody in the heart knows that when you come to Culver Stockton, you get the best fans in the conference. But that game in particular, there was maybe 5 people, and it's a day before Thanksgiving. They might have been checked out, and we really got the jump on them. So I think going into it, we knew we were the better team, and I think we really kind of expected the result that we got. But by halftime, by the 10 minutes into the second half, I think, hey, we really got them here. And then the result, that was one of the pivotal games of the season. And that, when I talk about belief, that was really a game where we were like, hang on, we can really do something.
At the beginning of the season, first 9 games, you guys went 3-6. It was kind of up and down. After that, you had a 4-game winning streak, and I believe the CMU game was in between that 4-game winning streak.
Yes.
Between the starting 3-6 and then 4 games victory, what changed? What was the major difference?
I think rotations. I think it took a while for us to work out who are our guys and what it takes to win. I know for myself, in the first 9 games of the season, I missed 7 of those. I think I had 4 of them missed with a knee injury, and then sat the other 3. But I think that was a turning point. Was once we got into December, it was we'd had a few games under our belt, and it was his first few games as a head coach, so he was still learning. And I think by the time we got to the sort of 9th game and onto that winning streak, we kind of worked out, hey, these are the guys that are really getting stuff done. And I think, again, the belief, like once we started getting a couple games under our belt, a couple wins, then it was like, all right, let's just keep it rolling.
During preseason and even the beginning of season, how hard, if at all, was it for you guys to adapt to a new coach, having the previous coach, in your case, for all the 3 years prior that you were here? The change in playing style, the change in whatever else it could be, how hard was it for you and the team?
I think it was probably not difficult, but it was definitely a change. One of the biggest changes we had was the defensive principles. We went from a sort of traditional style of defense to Coach Hobbs' pack style defense. And that was probably, that was changing, the fundamentals of defense as a team, like team defense. So that was probably the hardest part to adjust, but, we really hammered that in practice, and we really locked into changing that around. And, as the season went on, that hard work in the preseason really paid off, because it was our defense that won us a lot of the games that we played in during the season.
Walk us through a regular preseason type of routine for you guys. I know you guys had individual practices. I'm assuming some team practices, and I know some runs in the morning. Just give us like a little schedule before season.
So our season started, our official season started in October. That's when we started our official practices. But in September, we had a couple like open gym, open runs with us and the reserves, just to kind of work out personnel. And we had the blessing of being able to say that our roster had kind of stuck together. We were very senior and junior heavy, so we have that relationship and chemistry. But it was sort of the open gyms that kind of let us, feel each other out and work out where we're going. And then as we sort of worked into the October portion of the practices, it was, working again on skill workouts, working on our individual skills, working on defensive principles, and then changing up the offense. That was another big thing that changed from last year, was our offensive structure. We went from a very sort of play style dominant to, freelance. You can kind of do what you want as long as you keep the ball moving. So yeah, we kind of hammered that in practice.
How did you guys manage the varsity, junior varsity split? Did you guys all practice together? Was there one time, varsity here, JV here? How did that go?
It was kind of split. So in the preseason, you kind of practice together. That we had a lot of freshmen in the JV sort of class. So yeah, we kind of did a little bit of it together, and then by the time October came around, it was pretty much a split, and we didn't really see each other that often.
Talking about you personally, what was your role on the team?
I think my role in the team was to sort of, do what needs to be done, sort of the one percenters, the stuff that doesn't show up in the stat sheets. I really pride myself on outworking everybody on the floor. So, I for the majority of the season, I came in off the bench and, I only played a few minutes this season, but, whenever I was in the game, I tried to make an impact, whether it be, guarding the other team's big, guarding the other team's best player, rebounding, and then obviously my three-point ability is hitting some shots when needed. But, doing what other people don't do, and I really pride myself on that.
Were you happy with your overall performance throughout the entire season?
Yeah, I think I was. I think my role had changed drastically. Last year I had a real sort of heavy, I was relying on more heavily, and this year, my role kind of changed a lot, and it took a while for me to, process that and get used to that. But, once I settled in and started actually playing and getting some minutes under my belt, it took a couple of games to get on the court, but, once you get on the court, it's just basketball. So, yeah, I'm happy with how I played. I think I had my best three-point percentage this year, my senior year, so I'm happy with that. Yeah.
And the crowd was really happy with all the threes you made here at home, especially the celebration afterwards. It was something we lived for at those home games, so love to see it for sure. Coming into the season, again with the change in coach, did you expect to have such a great season team-wise, or did you think it was going to go a little bit of downfall with new coach, senior year, having to adapt again?
I think the new coach would have its challenges, but I really was positive, coming back into the year. I know coming back from Australia, coming back to the other side of the world, I was really positive, and I thought this was going to be one of our better years coming into the year, just because of we've been together for 3 years. We know each other, we know each other's tendencies, we have chemistry, and I think on that alone, didn't matter who came in as a head coach. I think having that bond and that togetherness as a team, I think that can take you very far. And coach coming in and adding his sort of schemes and tactics, we made the best of the.
If you had the chance and just the power somehow to add one more piece to your team during the season, what type of player would you have gotten?
Well, looking back on the year, I think our main spot was sort of like a taller forward, someone that can be reliable for a full 40. Obviously, we have Quinn Blackburn, who's our only freshman on the varsity team, and he was outstanding in the first few months of the season, and unfortunately he got hit with an injury and missed it, and we really missed him for the rest of the season. Just his presence, he's a 6'8" guy, big frame, plays back to the basket, and we really relied on him, and I don't think we realised how much we relied on him at the start of the year until he was gone. So I think, looking back, having, you never wish an injury on anybody, but having known that was coming, I think, having another big guy that could really, dominate in the paint and rebound and, be a real presence just to take away the other team's big, but also to give us some looks inside the paint. I think that would have been an ideal piece for us.
Mid-America and Baker were the top two teams in the conference. You guys beat Baker here at home. It was an amazing win. We enjoyed every second of it. If you had to pick one thing, or let's do a couple things that separate you guys from those two teams to be able to beat them game in and game out, what would that be?
That's a good question. Mid-Air, and they first in the conference, and rightfully so. They were a powerhouse for the entire year. I think they were on a 17-game win streak to end the season. So, they were doing all the right things. And I think one of the things that they were doing was, just pushing in transition, and they were really letting it fly. They weren't concerned about who was scoring. Obviously, it helps when you have the Player of the Year on the team. But I think that they were really dominating just because of once they had the ability to, once they got up, to just completely punish teams and shut them down. And I think, if we could learn something from them is, once we get a lead, keep the lead and really extend it rather than letting teams creep back in. Baker is deep. Baker, they had an incredible roster. That win on senior night is probably my favorite game of all time. Over my 4 years, that was just electric. But they're well coached and they have all the right pieces, and they're deep at every position, which I think we are too. But they were a little bit more polished and sort of knew their roles a little bit more, and that comes with having a good coach and having someone that's been there a long time and trusting the process.
Overall, how would you say the team chemistry was this year?
I'd say it was probably the best it's been over the course of my 4 years here. In my freshman year, COVID, we had a lot of people departing. My sophomore year, we had a lot of people coming in, so there was also a learning curve. It was hard to, sort of get used to everybody when you have so many new people coming in. I think it was getting better last year because we had a lot of people coming back, and we've been playing with the same people. And I think this year was really, the best. Like I said, the best of the 4 years, because you've been playing with everybody for that long. It's kind of hard to not know each other's tendencies and know and trust. You know what I mean? You trust your brother next to you. So yeah.
In the regular season, we're not going to count the loss to Grace on the postseason. But regular season games, is there one specific game you wish you could just take back?
Yeah, it'd probably be the Peru State game. I think looking back on the season, that was a pivotal one for us. Controversially dropped it, but I think having that win under your belt, you go on a sweep Peru, and they ended up winning the Heart of America, which is even crazier. But I think you get that one, you continue the win streak, you continue sort of a good flow that you're in. And I think that really propels. And I think we picked up the game after, and we kind of went on another streak. But looking back, that one was ours. And I kind of felt like we didn't really drop it. It kind of got taken from us, but it showed up as an L on the schedule. So yeah, that one is one I really wish we could get back.
I figured you were going to say that one. I remember watching it, and I believe it was by 2 points that we lost. And a controversial foul at the end, not going in our favor, but. Yeah, Rob, it happens. Sadly, it's a part of the game. No replays here, which is kind of sad. Looking ahead into next year, I know you're not going to be here, you're a senior now, but how promising is the team looking? Robert Fry deciding to transfer, that's going to be a big down, but we trust Coach Hobbs' recruiting. How good is the team going to be next year, looking at least player-wise, personnel right now?
Yeah, look, I guess it depends on how many people are coming back. I really think we're going to take a huge step forward. I think with a bunch of the playing group coming back, we've got a lot of seniors, but having a sniff of the playoffs and getting a taste of it, that's some experience that you can't recruit from a team perspective. Getting there and knowing what it takes to get there, I think it's crucial. And I think if a lot of the playing group come back and people that have been through this year and know what it takes, I really think that on top of the people that Coach Hobbs is going to bring in, I got nothing but high hopes for them next year. I really think they're on the right track.
Second to last thing before I let you go, I know we've had a lot of great things this season. If you had to pick your favorite one, most enjoyable moment, what would that be?
Probably the Baker game.
Yep.
By far. Senior day. I obviously being from Australia, I didn't have the luxury of having my parents fly out, but they were watching on the live stream. But I was able to walk with some incredible and influential people that have helped me through my 4 years. Dana Hoffman, who was my athletic trainer my freshman year, Sally Kintz, who's been my advisor the last 4 years, and Alyssa Hummel, who was my boss for the past 3 years up in the marketing office. Walking out with them, forget the game. That was probably the highlight of my day. And then obviously coming in and beating a Baker team that were receiving votes at the time, second in the conference, and doing it in a comeback fashion. And then being a part of it, my minutes in that game were some of the highest of the season, and I really thank Coach Hobbs for trusting me and keeping me in the game. And that experience is something I'll remember for the rest of my life. It was unbelievable.
last thing before we let you go, is there a message you want to send to your parents out there in Australia, your family, Coach Hobbs, whoever it is here at Culver Stockton, whoever it is in Australia? Is there a message you want to send? Go ahead and send it.
Yeah, I just say like to everybody at Culver Stockton, thank you. Thank you for trusting me and helping me get through 4 years here. I wouldn't change it for the world. To the boys, good luck next year. I'll be watching from home. Wildcat forever. Blue runs in my blood. And so my parents and my family, I'm coming home. I'll see you soon.
He's coming home. Ryan, thank you so much for being here with us. We appreciate your time. We wish you all the best going forward.
Thanks, mate.